Show hotline and welcome in our first guest. He is the head football coach at American Christian Academy here in Tuscaloosa. He was a great high school quarterback there, went on to play for Steve Spurrier at South Carolina and in 3 seasons in Columbia, threw for over 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns. He still ranks in the top 10 on USC's all-time list in completions, attempts, completion percentage, and passing touchdowns, even though he just played 3 years there, transferred to Alabama, wound up playing some baseball and getting his degree, and as I said, now the head coach at American Christian Academy, where he has been highly successful. Still chasing that state championship, though, Chris. I know that's a number one priority. You guys have been close, just hadn't been able to quite bring it home. How are you?
I'm doing great, Gary. Yeah, man, I tell you what, when you play high school football in the state of Alabama, that's like the top prize, man. It's hard to get there, but we're excited about giving it another shot this year, and we feel like we've got a good, solid team coming back, and we're really just ready to get to work. So hopefully things open up for us here in June, and we're excited to get started.
I know you are, and hopefully everything will go smooth, and we'll have our great high school football games on Friday nights this fall. As you said, I know you're anxious to get started. You had a great football team last year. You got a chance to have another good team this year, and you know it starts with talent. I mean, it starts with the players, and you've got a lot of good players, but you've got two that are turning heads all over the country in terms of recruiting, and that's Kamari Lassiter and Cam Jeffrey. They're both tremendous athletes, and they, I think, both have over 20 scholarship offers. Not the biggest guys. Well, Lassiter's, kind of slight and slender, but can really move, 165, 170 pounds. Jeffrey's a little bit bigger now at 6 feet, 195 pounds, but both these guys can do it on offense. They can do it on defense. You can use them all over the field. They're playmakers. They're dangerous. You've seen them up close. You've watched them work. They're on your football team. What makes these two guys so special in your opinion?
Yeah, man, they're both just tremendous talents, and we're blessed to have them, and looking forward to great senior years with them. And you said Kamari's kind of slight, man. He's been working his tail off in the weight room.
Has he gotten bigger, Chris?
And eating right, and he's up to about 180 pounds.
Wow!
Now, and so, man, we are. I'm just excited to see him. But man, just both great kids. First of all, I mean, just great teammates that go out every day and work hard and know when to laugh and have fun and know when to kind of put the football face on and get to work, and just tremendous leaders for our football team. And it's just exciting to see, guys that have worked hard, that have, put in the time, and also just have God-given athletic ability, and to see them both have, some great options and great schools to be able to look at and choose from. It's just an exciting opportunity for them, and I tell them, and I tell them, talking to their moms, just really enjoy this. It's such a neat opportunity. Don't get weighed down by it and all that kind of stuff. Just enjoy it and enjoy your senior year of football, and it's just a blessing.
Yeah. How much do you think it helps them that their head coach, meaning you, has been through the recruiting process as a player? Because again, you look at Lassiter, man, he's racked up numerous SEC offers. Jeffrey has a couple SEC offers, has a bunch of Group of 5 conference offers, and you've been there, you've done that. You were a recruited player that went to South Carolina. How much do they lean on you in this process, and how much are you willing to help them kind of realize what it's like to go through it as they are going through it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely give them everything I've got, and calling coaches and staying in contact with them, and want to be there for advice and questions. But I tell them too, it's really about just finding that school where you feel comfortable, and the players that you are kind of coming in with your class. I feel like that was a big thing for me, is the guys that I was getting recruited with. That what am I going to see? Who do I see myself being with in the locker room, and the environment that's there and all that. And having all these options is great, but at the end of the day, they're all going to choose one school. And it's kind of like my quarterback last year, Lawson Pratt, who just is just a tremendous talent, and could have waited around and done different things and had more options, but he fell in love with Stanford kind of early on and committed there early, and that was a school that he's super excited about going and playing football at. So same with these guys. It's just finding the school that really fits who you are and that you feel like it just feels like at home. And that's what I tell them. And some of this stuff that we're going through here is slowing down the process of getting to check schools out as much for right now. So, as soon as they're able to start doing that, I think they'll start really narrowing down that list.
American Christian Academy head coach Chris Smelley with us. As I stated, and at the high school level, it makes sense. You have two athletes of this caliber. They play on both sides of the ball. You've used them in different ways and will continue to do so. Looking ahead, though, to the next level, do you project both these guys or where are they being projected by recruiters, defensive players or offensive players?
They're both being looked at mostly on the defensive side of the ball. Kamari's really being recruited highly as a cornerback, and that's kind of where he camped out last year and is being offered. So, he's got just a ton of great schools and options there, and Kamari really fits that. He's long, he's quick twitch, he's super smart, and got a great football IQ, and just kind of has the cornerback attitude. He's got a little moxie about him, and brings a lot of energy and excitement to just kind of the way he carries himself on the field. And then Cam's being mostly recruited as a safety, kind of a nickel safety guy. Cam's he's got crazy speed, can probably get down there in the 4.4-ish range, and jumps right at like a 40-inch vertical. So he's just super explosive. Likes to get down in the box and tackles really well, but can also cover and has tremendous ball skills. So both of the guys, we play them on both sides. They play corner and safety, and Cam plays some outside linebacker for us. Then they both play receiver for us as well. And so, when you got guys that are just that talented in high school, obviously in college they're going to play on one side of the ball. But it's just for us, it just wouldn't make sense to not have the guys that you could throw the ball out to them quick, you could throw it to them deep, and they could just make explosive plays for you anytime they touch the ball.
Yeah, another phenomenal season for you last year, and I think you go 11-2, Chris? Is that right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so, and lost to Andalusia in the third round of the state playoffs. Mm-hmm. But you already, as good as your football team is, you already mentioned you had an incredible leader at quarterback in Lawson Pratt. Now he has moved on to Sanford, and especially in your offense now, because you run a lot of stuff through your quarterback. How big a loss is that, and what is the job going to be like finding somebody to replace him?
Yeah, it's always hard to replace a guy like Lawson. I mean, he's been starting for us since he was a 10th grader. And is really a dual threat guy, can do a lot of different things, make plays with his legs, but he's got a big arm, just a super athlete. And Stanford is really getting a good one with Lawson, and excited to watch him. But yeah, we're our quarterback does do a lot and gets a lot of opportunities. We've got two guys that are probably going to be competing for that spot, and we hadn't really had a true quarterback competition in a while. So I'm looking forward to that, and the competitiveness that it'll bring to the team, and really just watching how our team responds to those two guys as they're kind of battling for that spot. And so we've got two guys that can be just tremendous quarterbacks for us, and we're excited to get back on the field. We definitely missed having spring training and some of these other things. So we're excited to get back to work and see where we're at.
All right, let's get to some proposals and rule changes that could really help the game. And I know the AHSAA is in touch with the coaches and the administrators, trying to make it better and trying to improve things. And there's so many unknowns right now, but there are some things that are happening. One of them is to allow all transfers to be eligible to play in sub-varsity games. In other words, they transfer in if they're not at the varsity level, they're eligible immediately for competition, right?
Yeah, I think Alabama High School passed like 11 new rules this year, which is like a record for them or something like that. And it seems to me like they're trying to really put an emphasis on, giving, the child, the parents, the families, different options and kind of making the overall high school experience better for them. So, so you can, one of the rules was being able to transfer without having to move and not having to sit out if you were playing sub-varsity level. So at ACA, we have kids that move in sometimes in like ninth grade. We've got 2 kids that were enrolling this year and going to have to sit out. And when they found out that rule change, they were super excited that, all right, we're going to actually be able to get out there and play in some JV games and some freshman games and those types of things. Because, kids, football's hard and you put in a lot of work, and every sport that these kids compete in is tough things, and not being able to get out there and actually compete in a game sometimes can be disappointing. So, I know that's a rule that's going to be able to benefit a lot of families.
One that I really like is Proposal 18, allowing programs to choose whether or not they want to, or Proposal 18, I should say, choose a lot whether they want to hold spring training, because a lot of schools sometimes maybe it doesn't fit them well, or they got a bunch of guys playing baseball or something like that and can't work around it, or give the schools the option of starting their fall camp a week early. You like that?
Yeah, I think that's a huge benefit, especially to the smaller schools. Smaller 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A schools where you still have guys that get to play more multiple sports type things. So that's one of the things I love about ACA is the majority of our guys probably play at least 2 sports, and a few still play 3 sports, which used to be just super commonplace, and now you just don't see it happen a lot with a lot of sports doing a little bit more year-roundish type stuff, and kids kind of picking and choosing what they want to compete in. But like we have, for instance, a ton of guys that play baseball and football, and I know a lot of schools do. And spring training can be really tough sometimes. Maybe missing your quarterback or quarterbacks, which is something we've had before. And if you have a good baseball team and those guys, play basically through the end of the school year, then you miss a lot of guys with spring training. So yeah, it's a way to, how can we benefit the kids in the schools? And so being able to skip spring training and start practice a little early in the fall as an option. And, and that might be better for some schools, and for some schools, they're definitely going to want to hold spring training. I think the majority of the years we'd probably want to hold spring training too. It's just a time that colleges get to come around and see kids and all that kind of stuff. And so, but again, I think it's a big thing is just having more options on the table to be able to put kids in the best setup for for athletics.
Well, I can't imagine anybody's against this one. Proposal 13, allowing students and coaches to be able to work in larger groups during the year.
Yeah, this has been one that's been kind of tough. And what we sort of call it in football is 6-on-1s, and in baseball it's 5-on-1s, where you can only work in smaller groups outside of your season. And one of the things it did was really strain coaches a lot. Mm-hmm. So if you're the baseball coach and you can only work with 5 guys at a time, maybe for guys that play just baseball in the fall, and so you're spending hours and hours and hours and hours rolling groups in and trying to do things, and so that's just, it's kind of taking a big weight off of coaches' shoulders and allowing them to work in bigger groups. And you have certain windows of time, and there's time restrictions and all that kind of stuff, but you're able to get a lot of work done and not put as much strain on the coaches. So I thought that was a really good rule too.
All right, wrapping it up with Chris, but we got a couple more minutes here. You're an offensive coach. You're the head coach, but your background's in offense, and you guys lit it up last year. You had 84 points in the game against Montevallo and over 50 a bunch of times. But I want to let you give your defensive staff some credit. You also, this is very rare in modern game of football, you guys had 6 shutouts last year.
Yeah. Oh, man, our defensive coaches and players do a tremendous job. George Pratt's our defensive coordinator, and just is tremendous in getting guys ready to play and having a scheme that our guys can go out and execute. And got to give our players credit too. I feel like we put a lot on them, and we ask them to do a lot of things and give different looks and be able to mix it up defensively. And our guys just pick it up and roll with it and just do such a tremendous job. So we're not having to just sit over there and be static on defense. We're able to give the offense different looks and try to confuse them, and just a lot of credit. I think because our offense has scored points, you sort of see that being put up. But at the end of the day, championship football is won on the defensive side of the ball. And when you get into the playoffs with some really good teams. You get into, some big physical teams that run the ball and try to run the clock and all that kind of stuff. And, a great defense is really what allows you to win in those types of games against better competition. And so our defensive staff and players have just done a tremendous job. I feel like an underappreciated job. Defensive stats don't really light up newspaper articles most of the time, but just our guys has been tremendous.
Yeah, I want to give him a shout out because, like you say, when you score 84 against Montevallo, 65 against Dallas County, 58 against Sipsey, 56 against Woodlawn, it's easy to let those numbers jump off the screen at you. Yeah. Had a really good defense. All right, what's your gut feeling? I mean, obviously, we've been dealing with this pandemic now, and as I've said many times, it's a balancing act between, wanting to get our sports back and get our kids back in school, and we're missing so much. At the same time, it's a national health crisis. You feel good that we're going to have high school football and we'll have fans and it'll be normal come August. Just what are you feeling about how this is going to go?
I've got my fingers crossed that we stay in a normal setup, and I feel like that we're going to, and all these other programs and people getting out. I think that's the main thing is being safe, doing things the right way, and I know in the state of Alabama, we want to have our college football, we want to have our high school football, and but at the same time, it's got to be done in a safe manner, and they're doing it the right way. And there's just so many unknowns with this virus and stuff that's going on. So I guess we just take what we get, and right now it's getting started in smaller groups on June 8th, and we're super excited about that. And I know that we're hoping that Friday Night Lights is a full go, and everything's on schedule this fall for sure.
All right, lastly, I have to ask you the obligatory Steve Spurrier question. He's so hard on his quarterbacks, and it's kind of a love-hate relationship that he had with all of them, including you. And as I said, you still rank in the top 10 on a number of statistical categories there at South Carolina. As a coach now, and you played for a great high school coach too. I want to mention that, Stephen Hooks, man, what a great coach there.
Yeah.
But playing for Spurrier as a quarterback, how much has that influenced you as a coach overall, but specifically in how you handle your quarterbacks? What do you take away from him in that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of gotten to where I really try to be super positive with my quarterbacks and encourage them to take risk and not be afraid to sometimes take chances and go for it. I think you got to sort of be able to play with that confidence and that kind of go-getter, almost feel an invincible attitude out there is just so good for a quarterback, and the team responds to that kind of an attitude and that sort of a those qualities in a quarterback. And so I try to preach that is man, go out there and attack and let loose and get after it. And I think that's just important and something that I really focused on with our guys.
Great stuff as always, Chris. Good to have you on. We appreciate it, man. To you and all the high school coaches out there, we appreciate what you do, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that there are going to be better times ahead, and we're going to have regular high school football in the fall. Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gary.